Was halfway under the sink when they showed up me hair a mess wrench in handy finitely not trying to impress anyone not. When I stood up and saw the way they looked at me, I didn't fix my shirt, I didn't move away, I just smiled and welcomed Thaman before. We begin. If you're a regular hair, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It's the easiest way to support the channel and keep the stories coming. And if you're new, welcome. I'm glad you're here now. Let's begin. I was already halfway under the sink when they knocked knees on Thefler wrench in hand, hair pinned back, in the messiest version of a bun, not my most graceful look. But I wasn't exactly mean for elegance. I pulled myself out just as the door swung open, wiping my hands on a kitchen towel, and pretending G hadn't been muttering to myself a booth leak for the past hour. Didn't expect back for a leaky faucet? Said with a smirk. The older one smiled politely, Griot, the temples. Broad shoulders, calm presence, the younger one didn't bother hiding. The way his eyes dropped to my legs and slowly made their way up Talton, maybe 30, with that too relaxed confidence that always made me wary and curious. I like to supervise. The younger roan said, tossing a wink as he set his toolbox down. Make sure the job gets done right. I rolled my eyes and turned toward the coffee machine. I was about to make a cup. You two want one? My voice stayed casual. But the way I leaned against the counter, shoulders back, neckline open just enough, wasn't accidental. Black, thanks. Said the older one, whatever you're having. The younger added, standing just a little too close, not touching, but close enough to feel the space tighten between us. As I handed them their mugs, my fingers brushed Heisend. Caught it, that spark, not imaginary, not one-sided. He looked at me like he was wondering what kind of woman he really was, and honestly, I was wondering. Same thing when I bent to open the cabinet beneath the sink. Again. I could feel both of their eyes on me. I didn't rush. I didn't adjust my shirt. I let them look, and when I straightened up and caught the younger one staring, I held his gaze, and small Eddie didn't say anything when I caught him staring. I just stood there a second longer than I needed to, pretending toast-rotten the dish towel. Knowing full well they were both still watching, Madame realized plumbing came with perks. Younger one said under his breath, not quiet enough to be accidental. Older man shot him a quick look somewhere between amusement and warning, but didn't say a word, and I just let it hang in the air for a beat, then turned my head, meeting the younger one's eyes with a slow, unbothered smile. Well, I said, folding the towel in half, you boys did come to fix a leak, just making sure you get the full picture. He chuckled, clearly not expecting me to play along. The older one tried to stay focused on the wrench in his hand. Even he wasn't immune. His gaze kept drifting every time I moved. I cruciadagan slower, this time reaching into the cabinet for a rag. I didn't really need their silence told me everything. I could feel it heat behind me, eyes lingering. Where things shouldn't. I shifted my hips slightly. Not a lot, just enough to see either of them would react. I heard they ounger one exhale, a quiet curse under his breath. When I stood back up, he was closer, not touching, but close enough it. The warmth of his skin brushed against mine. He reached past me for this screwdriver on the counter, his arm grazing mine like he didn't mind it. Allie didn't move away behind him. The older one paused what he was doing. His eyes met mine for just a second. I held the Luke steady, waiting. Neither of us said a word. But we both knew the temperature in that kitchen had officially shifted. The kitchen felt too quiet, not silent exactly, but every sound seemed sharper now. The dull tap of metal tools, slow hum of the refrigerator, empty, distant chirp of a bird outside. Suindo seemed too loud, and still no one spoke. The older one had paused with his hand on the wrench, eyes locked with mine like he was waiting for me to say something. I didn't. I stood there, my heart tapping a little too hard against my ribs, realizing how warm the room had become and how little it had to do with whether I hadn't felt this visible in years. Not in the polite, professional way people look at you when you sign papers or pay for groceries. I meant thickened of look that lingers. That pulls a mething from you just by existing after the divorce. I'd told myself I was fine, that I didn't need to be seen like that again. That I didn't miss, bindtouched, noticed, wanted. I'd lied. I missaid it more than I cared to admit, and standing there knowing. Two men were apprending to focus on screws and pipes while failing to keep their eyes off meat maid. Something stirred, not just in my body, but in that quiet, aching part of me'd been ignoring for too long. The younger one shifted behind me, brushing past. To grab something off the counter, his arm didn't need to graze mine. He let it. I let him. The space between us fell thinner by the second. I turned, slightly watching the older one wipe a line off sweet from his brow with the back of Heischend. He didn't look away, and that thathed me harder than any compliment ever counted. A flicker of something passed through me, a what if, a fantasy I imagined at them. Closing in without a word, my bacogonies the counter their hands, finding parts of me that had gone too long ignored. I imagined them saying nothing at all, just giving in like I wanted. Till like I was already halfway there. Blinked the thought away, but not quickly on out. The younger one must have seen some weathing in my face. You always this easy to read, he said quietly, stepping closer. Or is today special? His voice was lower now, no longer joking, the kind-off tone that makes your breath catch before your body even understands why. I guess that depends on who's reading me. I answered, surprised at how steady it sounded. He smiled, not wide, not smug gesture. Then he moved one step closer, closing what little distance was left between us. His hand slid to my waist, hovering there for a moment, like he was still giving me a chance to say no. I didn't stop him. I didn't even flinch. The older one hadn't moved. But he was watching, chest rising slowly, like he was holding back more than just breath and thon. The younger one leaned in. No rush, no hesitation. His lips found the side of me neck, soft and deliberate, like he'd thought about it longer than he should have. I let my eyes close because I needed this, and I wasn't going to pretend otherwise anymore. For a moment, everything stopped. His lips had just left my neck, but the feeling lingered, soft, focused, possible toinier. I didn't move, didn't even breathe. First, I could feel the younger one still close his body, radiating heat in front of me, and behind me the space was still empty. I was waiting, not for permission, not out of fear, but because he wanted to know, would the older one stay on the sidelines? Or was he coming in? I heard a soft shuffle on the tile, the smallest movement. Then a hand larger, steadier, rested gently on my shoulder. I didn't flinch. He stepped behind me, slow and sure, his body close but not pressing. Gauny hands slid up, fingertips brushing my neckline as he swept my hair over to one side. The other stayed grounded at my nose, as if anchoring me in place. Anthen, I felt it. He pressed a quiet kiss over the side of my neck, just above where a younger one had been moments ago. Booth's kiss wasn't the same where the younger one had been bold, teasing, electric. This was slower, like reverence, like he was rediscovering a language he hadn't spoken in a long time. I closed my eyes again. I found myself leaning back, Kinto, him steady and slow, and that's when he realized I was surrounded. The young grown still stood in front of me, eyes low, smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Stepped in closer, hand coming up to Coot, my jaw gently brushing his thumb along my cheek like he was steadying something. He'd just stirred that counter edge pressed against my hips. Now he was bracketed between strength and confidence, warmth and calm. I was not trapped. I was held. Their hands moved in spoken rhythm. One along my arm, the other across my lower back. His lips grazed the edge of my shoulder. A palm guided me back, then forward. They never asked, never rushed. They simply gave me space to give in. And I did. I let go off the tension I didn't realize I'd been carrying of the years I'd spent brushing off, look, swallowing the ache of being touched. Only in memory. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel shame. What I felt was mine. I wanted this and more, Fan thought. I liked letting them take the lead. They moved with quiet understanding. One traced a slow line down my spine. Willethy. Other leaned in to kiss my shoulder again, his breath warm against my skin. My hand settled on the edge of the counter, steady, and still. My body had stopped pretending. They were in sync, now coordinated without words. one hand at my hip, another lifting. My chin lips tracing thassle on my neck. Then along my jaw, it tilted my head back, caught between that woe of them, and felt every inch of air to sapper. I couldn't tell who was touching what anymore, and I didn't corral their movements, followed one anotherquiot, and measured fingertips gliding along my ribs, a kiss beneath my ear, a firm grip returning to my waist. Just as me legs relaxed beneath me, I didn't have Edo think, didn't have to direct all. I had to do was feel, and I did completely. It was in being performed. For I wasn't a prize or a secret or a fantasy. I was a woman who had stopped hiding the fact that she needed this. And two men who had stopped pretending they didn't want it to. The moment stretched, long, quiet. And unbroken, the older one murmured something. Into my skin, inaudible, but low enough to leave a mark. I couldn't see. The younger one moved in tandem. Steady, confident, everything around me, the room sounds. Flaw? The past blurred out their ways. Only this, only them, and then it stopped. They both pulled back. At the same time, one hand slid from my back. Theatha brushed down my arm before letting go. I stayed there a second longer. Still breathing, hard headlight eyes. Half closed, the younger one was the first toss-peak voice, softer than before. Anything goes. You need fixed. I looked at them, one with flushed cheeks, the other with a slight grin he was trying to hide. And I smiled. Maybe tomorrow. We didn't plan for it to go that way, but Mabe, that's the thing. I didn't stop. I teether, and once I let them in, I didn't want it to end. Be honest. Do you wish you were there too? If you were, what would you be doing? Tell me in the comments. You'll be reading. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching and for being part of